welcome to Detroit in Black and White, our Wednesday edition, 8:30 p.m. Uh, Allan Lengel from Dev. Good evening.
Good evening.
Jim Nardone, what's happening, Jim?
A good Wednesday evening to you. Good day. It's a good day. It's a day for Rolex and Tesla, I think.
Okay. At last minute, it showed up. How you doing, Eric Brown? What's going on?
I'm good.
And attorney Vanessa Moss. How you doing, Vanessa?
Hey, good evening. Good evening to all of you Detroit Black and White viewers, Quinn B, Kenneth Joyce. If you guys are watching, like, subscribe, and share. Join us in the chat. And we thank you. You could catch us on all social media platforms every Wednesday and Friday night from 8:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. and every Saturday morning from 10 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock in the morning. Hey, Edward Altman.
Okay. Well. What was the whole purpose of Cory Booker talking for 25 fucking hours?
What was the
purpose?
Did you say that about Strom Thurmond as
well? What was the whole purpose of filibuster for 25 hours? Allan,
well, I mean, I think one is he's trying to convey that these are not normal times, that this administration is screwed up, and that he's trying to make a point there. The other is, I mean, it's good that he's trying to show some leadership to try to stand out. He's taken away the attention from the Republicans a little bit. The Democrats need to take part of the stage back again. So, you know,
well, they ain't taking the stage back. Because listen, all these folks on bow and they kissing the ring of Donald Trump. I thought the last of the so-called radical liberals, that's Bill Maher, was the former comedian, whatever the fuck he is now.
Sure.
He had dinner. He's a Kid Rock guy now. He's with Trump. Everybody, I don't know what is the deal. I don't know what the deal is. Cory Booker gets up there and say, "Well, I broke a record." He broke a record where Strom Thurmond got up there for 24 hours and 18 minutes because he didn't want a civil rights bill to be passed in 63, 64. So, yeah, so he showed us the other day that he was in good shape. He didn't have to go to the bathroom. He didn't have to sit down, and he stood up for 25 fucking hours.
He probably had an adult diaper on, though. I can't imagine.
Whatever the fuck, don't matter.
We don't have to get that deep into the weeds.
Well, you can't say that he didn't need to go to the bathroom, though. So,
well, he said he stopped eating. He didn't drink any water and all this other stuff. Yeah. Well, but anyway, I understand. And listen, Cory Booker is a smart guy. I like the guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's no question about it. He represents New Jersey well. But all I'm saying is they don't have a fucking game plan, the Democratic Party. Now their book come out saying Obama sat in the background and he sabotaged Harris's campaign, which is, it's easy to say that shit, because people weren't happy the way it went down. But he was all part of the fucking coup. I call it a coup. They overthrew the president, and this is what they got. Eric.
I've been standing all along, and let me make my first point. Anyone comparing what Strom Thurmond did to what Cory Booker did is apples and oranges. Strom Thurmond got up there to filibuster about a bill, about a package. Cory Booker got up there and did not a goddamn thing. It was a waste of time, and all these people applauding him. Don't know what the hell he talked about. So what are they so happy about him doing what he did, which was nothing, and putting it all over the internet and social media, The average person cannot tell you not one thing he talked about. It was a waste of time, and it's laughable to me that people are acting like it was something to talk him up into a leader. That's not leadership. That was stupidity, as far as I'm concerned.
No, go ahead, Al.
I think it's just they're trying to make a point that what's going on, snatching people off the street, deporting them, ignoring judicial orders, that this isn't normal times, that they're locking people out. There were 10, 15,000 people from the FDA who are locked out of their jobs. They went to work and their badges didn't work. I mean, they're treating people like shit. And there has to be at least a recognition that this is not normal. Look, I mean, it's a symbolic thing what Cory Booker did. It's not, but
not symbolic, performative. It was performative, not symbolic.
Oh, it's whatever you want to call it, performative, whatever. But the thing is, there are demonstrations. Saturday, there's demonstrations going around the country. Wisconsin, I think people are finally said "fuck you" to Elon Musk, who came in. They still have to get their act together, but it's still, they're starting. They've got to start somewhere.
Jim, you look like you anxious to jump in there and say something.
Why the anger? Why does everybody hate Elon Musk? I mean, isn't he the guy that brought those astronauts home? But anyway, Cory Booker is running for president, and he's following the path of the Democrats, which is they don't know what the fuck they're doing. But anyway,
correct.
Hi to Deborah. I think it's Mook. I didn't get I was trying to read it. I'm looking at this on a little iPad. So MUQ. There you are.
They said that I like symbolic.
Yeah. Bridget Day, our friend Day, Queen Bee, thank you all for participating. I don't think they have any direction. I have no problem with what he did. He's entitled to do that. He's a U.S. senator, and he's running for president.
And you're absolutely right. The Republican Party is just as fucked up. All I'm saying, who's controlling the narrative is Donald Trump. He controlling the fucking narrative, and both parties, Republican and Democrats, are they are non-factor in what's going on in this country. Vanessa.
So I'm one of those people who did the comparison to Strom Thurmond. And my opinion is, yes, I gave him a round of applause. He has the right to do it, and he did it. And just as someone on this panel just indicated that half of the people don't even know what he was talking about, I would submit to you and to the audience that half of the people didn't know what Strom Thurmond was speaking about. Listen.
Yes, they did.
It was very clear what Strom Thurmond and the Dixiecrats were talking about. No, you're wrong. You're wrong. Don't even tell me revision his history. You tell me revision his history.
You're just not going to do it. My opinion is this.
Well, your opinion don't mean shit when you're not right. Your
opinion don't mean shit either, sir.
I know.
You think you're expert on every goddamn thing. You're not. And you definitely are not an expert on what Vanessa thinks.
Did I get you?
Did I get you? Or nothing else. Absolutely not.
Did I get you?
Finish.
Did I get you?
I want to finish, sir. I want to finish, sir. I want to finish, sir. Listen, I had a conversation with someone earlier today, who Alexandria Taylor, who has been on our show, right? And she was a Democrat, and she left the Democratic Party, and she became a Republican. The fact of the matter is this. I do agree with this, Adolph, that both parties are effed up. And most Americans, guess what, are in the middle of the road. And so, listen, you can miss me on all of that. You know, a lot of people on this panel, there are people on this panel who dog out the Democratic Party. Listen, you need to dog out the Republican Party, and you need to dog out these people who sit on their hands and absolutely do nothing.
Hey, well, it don't matter. Because even
it does matter.
No, it don't.
It does matter. It does matter.
Yes, it don't.
It does matter. It may not matter
whatever
to
you
you,
say,
but it matters to me.
Whatever you say,
Listen,
it does
you're
matter.
not going to do that to me, sir. You're not going to silence.
Listen, you must be upset.
On this panel, and every time I say
you
got something negative to say, I don't care.
I want to
care that you don't care.
Okay? I'd like
nobody care. You can put your hand down, Lengel. Nobody cares.
Yeah. Well, all right. I'll see you later. I'm gonna go finish my show Yellowstone, man. I want to say something. I want to provide an analogy when we talk about what Cory Booker did. When I was at the Washington Post, we were trying to get a new contract. We did a byline strike where everyone removed their bylines for a week. It was one thing, and when it was done, people said, "See, nothing happened." I said, right. You don't do just one thing and dismiss it as totally insignificant. You do multiple things. And here, Cory Booker, he did that thing. So everyone goes, well, what happened? Nothing happened. Well, that's just one thing. There needs to be multiple things going on before you are totally outright dismissing.
So did the tree fall in the forest? Did the tree fall? Listen, you did a byline strike. So what happened?
Well, you know what? It got the attention of people that something was wrong, but then people were like, that's it. Well, nothing happened. So we're not going to be able to do anything. I said, you need to do a work slowdown. You need to do a byline strike. You need to, do this and that. It's not one thing. And what Cory Booker did, if you want to dismiss it as totally insignificant, it's one thing that was done. It needs many things to happen. So
I am going to. I will.
Wait a minute.
I will dismiss it as insignificant because where the fuck were they when this man decided to run for re-election when they knew he was cognitively not up for the job? They were quiet then. So I don't fuck the Democratic Party. They
wait a minute, Eric. We got
this even happened. You not messing with the Democratic Party at all, and I don't know if you ever have. So what you're saying for me, it's like this is of no moment because you say the same thing about everybody that's in a Democrat that's in office.
No,
because what have they done? What have they done for black people? What people talk this bullshit about Republicans, they done nothing for y'all. What have Democrats done? What have they done?
Eric, cool out for a minute.
You make
cool
sure
out for a minute.
Thank you, Queen Bee.
I was right. Okay, Eric, you was right. Okay, you get a round of applause too, just like Cory Booker.
Okay, cool
you
out.
Don't get all applause from me.
Cool out for a minute.
I said you get an applause.
That the Democratic Party is fucked up. Wait a minute. We know the Democratic Party fucked up, but the Republican Party is just as fucked up.
Vanessa on Twitter. How about that?
Yeah, and they just as fucked up. And
more fucked up.
The problem with the Democratic Party was that the Republicans control the narrative, and the Democrats had no answer to them. When Donald Trump saying that fucking Joe Biden was he had Alzheimer's, dementia, whatever, they had no comeback to Donald Trump. I would be coming back at Donald Trump and say this motherfucker is out of his fucking mind. But they never came back. They say, oh, we don't play that kind of shit. Republicans played all kind of games. They did what they did, and they won. I mean, they won big time. And Democrats sit back and say, "Oh, we just feel so fucking bad, and we don't know what to do." We got Bernie Sanders, who's pretend to be a Democrat. We got AOC, and all these other motherfuckers that sabotage the party and shit. And then now everybody uptight. Allan,
I was going to say, well, I won't disagree with everything you're saying, but the Republican Party also did a great job, and this wasn't the only thing, but they did a great job of appealing to people's prejudices and fears. One, the transgender thing became blown out of proportion. The DEI thing, the wokeness. People were like, basically, fuck that. We want to say what we want to say.
They couldn't answer it, but they couldn't answer the fucking shit. It's like when Dukakis ran for president and he got asked by the guy from CNN, Bernard Shaw, that if your wife was raped by a motherfucker, what would you do? He couldn't answer the fucking question. You have to be able to answer the question.
Right.
You know what? the narrative. Republicans, here we are. We sit here and we can beat up on each other and we doing our thing. But the bottom line is we show passion. Democrats ain't show, or the Republicans show passion on what they needed to do. They sit back and the people that controlling the narrative, they in the White House. And I want to see the lower opposition. When you got a fucking head of the Secretary of Defense was a talk show host, and then he come out and say, "Oh, that person is woke. They not qualified." This motherfucker ain't qualified. Why we not on TV or whatever we gonna do and say what they say? But we don't. At this point, we just accept the point. Well, you know, we can't do this. We can't say that. And, you know, Cory Booker did a hell of a job, 25 hours. I'm real proud of Cory. Okay. Yeah, I'm proud of Cory too.
Hey, you know what? It's a drop in the ocean, but you got to start somewhere. And so it's not.
I got a text from Cory Booker tonight. Did you guys all get a text from Cory?
I did. I
did. Yeah, I got one. I did. Same. I got one from Mallory.
He ain't texting me. Fuck Cory Booker. He's a fake.
I'm not texting you either.
He ain't listen. He ain't texting me. So listen, I can.
Here's the other. The book was written by the same people that wrote the book about Hillary Clinton and why she lost after the 2016 election. You know, John Allen and Amy Parnes. But what's also striking about excerpts from the book, these fuckers was hoping that he died in office so that they wouldn't have to kick him out of office. But I don't want to talk about that. So fuck the Democratic Party. Already going back to the way they handled the situation when they said fuck Joe Biden and put Hillary Clinton in there, down in Brazil, and Washington from Florida. So they have been sabotaging themselves for years. So,
but the whole point of the two-party system is it ain't no two-party system. It's a guy that hijacked the political narrative
system. He hijacked the political system.
Never got elected to nothing, and he came on and he used the TV, NBC as the apprentice, and he did a hell of a job. Got elected president, and then come back, and now he's laying the groundwork to say, "Fuck it, I can be dead, and I'm still gonna run for a third term, a fourth term, or whatever term." And he got people buying into that. Vanessa.
Listen, I think we should go to some of our viewers. Terry Freeman said tonight's show is a microcosm of the political parties. Democrats fighting Democrats, Republicans fighting Democrats, and
nobody a Democrat. I think you got it wrong.
All the while the Republicans are cleaning out the Treasury and imposing tariffs and higher prices on the people, and the band played on. Ball of confusion. Queen B said Kamala Harris had no response for that commercial. Sheila said that's why adults need to be independent first. Queen B said, I'm just glad everyone on the show thinks for themselves and have their own opinion. Deborah Harris said, what did he talk about? What did he talk about?
He talked about
but when you do a filibuster, you really don't talk about
Let's talk about the hottest topics.
And Joe Cool too.
I heard some of the
filibuster. You don't talk about nothing.
He talked about the shortcomings of the Democratic Party. He talked about. I heard so. He talked about
24.
No. He talked about the insanity of the Trump administration, about how crazy it was. I have a question for Eric. Eric, I know clearly how you feel about the Democratic Party. Let's hear what you think about the Republican Party.
Well, he's a Republican.
He asked Eric. Ask Eric a pointed question.
I'm an independent voter. I do my research.
But tell me
what they don't say. Neither one of these parties that work with them I vote for the person, not the party. I get less than a fuck about the Republican Party. I fuck about the Democratic Party.
Eric, I asked you a question. I know how you're very critical of the Democratic Party. That's your opinion. But I'm asking you.
I'm critical of the Republican Party too. You just choose not to hear because you love the Democratic Party so much.
But tell me about the Republican Party. What your thoughts are?
Angry man, calm down.
What? Tell me.
My thoughts on the Republican Party are the same as the Democratic Party. Neither one of them are worth a damn. That's my thoughts on both of them.
Okay. All right. That's an answer.
Enough said.
Eric's he's been vocal about hating everybody equally, so he's not. I
hear a lot more about the hating Democrats.
Well, I think that comes from.
I hear a lot more from you about the Democratic Party. I mean, I hear a lot more of you dogging the Republican Party, kissing the ass of I do.
Eric,
you have the best thing since like man is the Democratic Party.
I think what's going on right now
we can't get to you. If you in Canton, you have a stroke. We can't get to you.
Right, absolutely.
Just relax. It ain't all that, you know. Listen.
Let me say this.
I like a spirited conversation.
I was just getting ready to say that. You just took the words out of my mouth. And for everyone that's watching Detroit in Black and White, listen. We are strong individuals. We all have our own independent opinions. But guess what? We also all respect each other and we all love each other. And so don't take this as when he and I are going back and forth, don't take it as, oh my gosh, they're really getting down and dirty and they're going after each other. No, we have our own opinions. And whatever comes out of Vanessa mouth comes out of Vanessa mouth, and anybody else on this panel, they speak for himself, because I'm the only female here.
Yeah. Well, anyway, but the bottom line is that we sat up here, and if I was controlling the narrative of a political party, I would be on the attack, and what with the Democratic Party is that they sat back and they feel sorry for themselves, and we got 3 or 4 different factions that we sat here and we see how they just fucked up the state, you know, and you see something, they got their own deal they doing. Look at Duggan. Duggan just said, fuck the Democratic Party. I'm gonna run as an independent, and I look at that as he just unhanded the next year's election for governor to the Republicans. There's no question that he made it an easy road to walk. Why? Because he's dissatisfied with what's going on. Everybody dissatisfied. Now it's chaos right now, and how they gonna get back and control it now? And Donald Trump has now taken. He's inviting the so-called liberal commentators and all that to the White House and shit. The folks that was fighting him have now basically said, you know, he's the president, he's in control, and nobody else is doing anything. Allan.
Well, you know, the law firm that represents the Washington Post, I exchanged an email with one of the lawyers who I dealt with when I was at the Post. He works for Williams and Conley, one of the bigger law firms in D.C. They're one of the few law firms that is standing up against Trump, defending. And I wrote one of the attorneys yesterday, and I said, I can't believe what's going on, how law firms are rolling over and saying, okay, we're not going to defend anyone who opposes the administration. We're going to do millions of dollars of pro bono work. It's disgraceful. I've never seen anything like that. I'm proud that Williams and Conley is standing up, but there's a lot of these huge law firms where the people partners are making at least $5-6 million a year.
Everybody doing their own thing. And listen, we have been through and lived through as older folks. As we grew up, we had this kind of shit before, where where this country went through demagogues that control the narrative, and this is what's happening. When you don't have a loyal opposition, this is what you get. You know, it's like there's no fight. And
can I ask a question? I'm sorry.
Democrats the way of the Whig Party, Jim.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I want to ask a question if I could. But first, I want to thank Miss Sheila, Deborah, Queen Bee, Edward, Joe Cool, Day, Terry, and Derek all making a contribution to the show tonight. Thank you. But I want to ask you, this is more back about the conversation Allan and Eric were having a little earlier. You know, when you're part of an organization or a group of people, it's like your family. You expect more out of people that you might have faith in, right? That you grow up around. You look at things a little differently, Allan. I think you're looking at it from, you know, sometimes we're more critical of people we agree with than people we don't agree with. And I think we need to sit back for a minute and understand why Eric has that anger or you know, disillusionment with the Democratic Party. I'm sure some of that's based on, you know.
But you know, you can Democrats is an easy target to be fucked because they don't have listen, what do they got that's going for them? They can't convince me to do shit.
But I think it's a frustration.
But the Republicans is just as fucked up. They got the most craziest motherfuckers in the world. The Kerry Lakes, the Marjorie Taylor Greens, Lauren Burbank, and all these other crazy assholes. But we don't have nobody to say shit. We got Chuck Schumer, who he sucked on their ass, and then he don't want to leave. But people like him need to just go retire somewhere because he just gave them a roadmap to do what they need to do. Now, if the government is going to shut the fucking government down.
And I don't want to speak on behalf of Eric.
Can I interrupt for a minute? We have not done a commercial break.
We're not doing a commercial break. We're not doing a commercial break tonight.
Okay.
Commercial free.
I don't want to speak on behalf of Eric. He can speak on behalf of himself, but I think a lot of it is the frustration with the Democratic Party expecting that we can get more from them, the regular people in this country, and get more from the Democrats than they can.
Well, if that used to be the standard oil, you expect more from Standard and you get it. We ain't got shit. We ain't got shit from what the Democrats and the Democrats is like, well, they the easy target, you know, and I understand. We can smack the shit out of them because they right there, you know, and I understand your frustration with them because nobody is smacking the hell out of the Republican Party like they do the Democrats. Democrats make it real easy to smack them and shit. And then we look at what's going on in the country, and we look at they changed the rules of the game. Listen, they love the judges when the judges rule in their favor. Yeah. Hate the judges when the judges say, listen, you know that's illegal. You can't do that. We need to get rid of the Supreme Court. We need to get rid of the Court of Appeals. These people talking crazy shit. And I understand what Allan is saying. Damn, I can wake up and we can be in all kind of camps and whatever, and people would say, yeah, Donald Trump and them is doing a great job as they go hang your ass somewhere. Go ahead, Allan.
I was going to say, in 2004, when John Kerry lost to Bush, I was at the newspaper in D.C., and one of my pod mates said, you know, maybe the Democrats need to be more like anti-abortion and this or that. And I said, why have two parties if they're both exactly the same? If all you're doing is trying to win. Howard Dean came in and became the DNC chair, and he basically said, you are fucking Democrats, act like Democrats, stand for something, stand for what the Democratic Party stands for. And he helped, I think, strengthen it. Look, this party's been lost before, like the Republicans have been lost before. And it's, you know, there have been mistakes made. And, you know, just because there's mistakes made, you can't necessarily totally write them off and say they're never coming back. Both these parties.
Listen, the problem I have with that is this. When you say stand up and you know, he said, you know, be a Democrat and stand up for what the Democratic Party stands for. What does it stand for? You got these extreme liberals who I personally find offensive. Okay, what we don't even know what it really stands for, and I think therein lies the problem.
Labor.
Well, we done had.
It stands for.
This is this. We have somebody in the chat that's talking about too many limousine liberals still running the Democratic Party.
Well, but you know what? The Democrats had people at one time. You talking about Robert Byrd? You talking about Joe Manchin? They don't had conservative Democrats, and we let the liberal wing of the party run them out of the party. That's all it is. But Democrats had very conservative people. That John. How many years John Dingell got elected downriver from Republicans, Independents, Democrats, Jim?
As long as they wanted to.
He was a staunch Democrat, but he was a staunch conservative Democrat who believed in NRA and all this other stuff. But he also believed in, he had some liberal policies and stuff. But the party now is either you want to be like Rashida Tlaib, who come in here and pretend to be one way and got an agenda on this way. AOC and them hijack one part of the party. Bernie Sanders ain't even part of the party, but he done hijacked and did his thing. So everybody got a little piece. Democrats is like Chrysler. Everybody unpimped her. You know
what? The Republican Party for the last 10, 15 years has really kept weeding out liberals, moderates, where the moderates became the liberals, where the conservatives became the moderates, because it became narrower and narrower. The problem with the Democratic Party is they still are trying to be the big tent party, and they can't figure out how to get that.
They're the same as the Republic.
They threw the rural voters away. They took advantage of their most loyal base, the black voters. They didn't believe that the Hispanics would vote Republican. And then the Arabs really tricked them and said, well, you might want to just kill everybody in the Gaza Strip, but we're going to vote with you. And here they are. This is what we got, Eric.
Well, to answer Tim's point, growing up in Detroit, up until the age of 18 when I went off to college, you grew up in Detroit saying you do nothing but vote for a Democrat. You are a Democrat. You don't learn a lot of things about politics when you are in K through 12. So when I was down at Talladega College and HBCU, I was down in Alabama. I did my research on the Dixiecrats because I didn't learn about that in high school in Detroit. I did my research. And as I did my research, I realized at a very young age, 19, 20 years old, the Democratic Party had been taking advantage of the black electorate since the year I was born, 1964. And for that reason, Alan, that's why I am anti-Democratic Party. I feel they're taking advantage of the black electorate. I feel they have taken advantage of the black. Hold on, let me finish, Adolph. I feel they're taking advantage of the black people. They do nothing to get the vote. They just get the vote.
But that's really not really true, Eric, because if it wasn't for the Democratic Party, really, if it wasn't for some Republicans in the 60s, that passed the Civil Rights Bill, because the Democratic Party in the 50s, that the party of Franklin Roosevelt and them, they was really some bigoted assholes. That
right. In 1960,
most black folks voted Republican. They voted Republican up until
blacks started voting majority for the Democratic Party in 1964. Prior to 1964 and the Dixiecrats and all that, yes, a lot of blacks were Republicans. But since I've been on this planet, I referenced 1964.
Democrats didn't love. Democrats never really loved black folks. We just
Black people love the Democratic Party more than Democrats love them, and that's one thing that I'm offended by.
We love whoever took care of us.
I'm going to ask you a question, Eric.
Took care of us just fine.
Question. I'm going to ask you a question. So, because most Democrats, most blacks, as you would say, are Democrats, are you saying that you don't like black folks?
I ain't got nothing to do with black folks. I don't like the fact that black folks are complicit in being used by a political party.
So what, you mad at black folks? You mad at your cousins?
I'm mad that far too many black people for themselves when it's time to go to the ballot box.
So
some of these people don't even go to the ballot box. So you need to get mad at the people that don't go vote. Yeah, Allan, go ahead.
I was going to say, to your point, Adolph, is that the Democratic Party, it wasn't the Republicans pushing through civil rights in the 60s.
Yeah.
You know, yes. It was the Democrats. It was JFK. It was LBJ who did even more to push through civil rights.
Yeah, the Democratic Party, the John Stennis, the Russells of Georgia, all these Democrats, they was obstructionists. They blocked all kind of shit. They were segregationists. They was racist. They was white supremacists. This was the Democratic Party, and
LBJ also was a racist, and he was the one that presented all this free shit.
But I have to give LBJ credit. LBJ was a politician who looked at the shit and said, "Hey, you know what? I can be this and that." And he did what he did. You know, sometimes Harry Truman came from one of the most bigoted parts of the country, but Harry Truman said, "I came home from World War I, and I saw black troops over in France get pissed on and shit, and they supposed to be fighting for freedom." You had folks that, you know, did the right thing, even though they didn't think that was the right thing. They grew up thinking one thing and they did another thing. So it always takes somebody to change the course of how they was raised. Democrats decided we're gonna become Republicans. Strom Thurmond, who made a baby, raped a woman, had a black kid, and was biggest segregationist in the world, talking all that shit of separatism. But yet he was taking care of a black child the whole fucking time and decided, I'm not gonna be a Democrat anymore. we're gonna do the Southern strategy. The Southern strategy is everybody became a Republican back in '64. They switched parties. So here we are. And we here now today, 2025. And my main argument is I'm not worried about Donald Trump. He's the president, and I'm not waking up and I'm upset that he's doing this. I'm just trying to figure out how we can move forward. You know, vote this motherfucker out of there, or vote this person, or do this. That's what we got to do. You know, and not what we know what's going on in this country. Elon Musk ain't the first demigod that came through and doing his thing. They enjoying the stuff. Whether it's the victors goes the spoils, they controlling what they controlling.
But it's, look, the courts have been the only stopgap right now to doing. There's a lot of illegal stuff that's been going on. There's unions representing some of these workers, disregarding that. There's the Constitution. There's laws. Look, the Eric Adams case. They decided, you know, he's going to, you know, the judge did screw the Justice Department because on the Eric Adams case,
they can't bring it back, right?
They wanted to drop the case without prejudice, meaning they could reinstate if Eric Adams wasn't, you know, doing what they wanted. But the judge said, "Fuck that! You want to drop the case? All charges dismissed. You can't refile."
So Eric Adams is a fucking crook. And he's running the city of New York.
Right.
Cuomo, who was a crook and got kicked out as governor, it looked like he might be the mayor of New York.
Yeah.
This whole, I don't know where we going with this shit, Vanessa.
Listen, here's a problem for me is we could sit here and talk about all the things, the illegal things that's going on with this administration. Listen, this is not the first and not the last administration that has done illegal things. It's because it is the person that is in office.
No.
Wait a minute. Wait, I did not interrupt you, and you're not going to do that. I'm sick of you guys disrespecting me, and I keep telling you, I am the lady in the house, and you're going to respect.
Let's talk. You wasted time. Just go ahead and talk.
So anyway, the point that I'm trying to make is this. You know, the guy that's in office, the president of the United States, people don't like him. You don't like him. So you're talking about all these illegal things. But guess what? We've had Democratic presidents who did illegal things. So let's not paint this picture as if
who was the Democratic Party?
Well, I'm gonna say when John F. Kennedy was in office, there was a lot of illegal things.
What did he do?
I would say when Franklin FDR was listening to something earlier today. FDR and how John F. Kennedy's father actually was dealing in what's the lady who went to prison? The lady who does all the pots and pans, insider trading. And guess what? Yes. And John F. Kennedy's father was doing that. And guess what? He was rewarded just like Elon Musk was rewarded, right? He gave all this money towards his campaign. He was rewarded. And when FDR got into office, guess what? They said that insider trading was illegal. Let's talk about how they covered up Edward Kennedy's drunk driving and killing somebody. That's very illegal. As a matter of fact, it's criminal.
He was not the president. He wasn't the president.
Let's not paint this picture as if all these things that are being done that is illegal and it's not okay with me. But guess what? It didn't start with this presidency. That's the point that I'm trying to make.
All right. Well, let me say this. First of all, it's not an excuse to ignore and say it's happened before, so what? Everybody, I don't care with Joe. Let me finish. Joe Biden, if he did something wrong, people spoke up about it. Now we're supposed to shut up because it's happened before. Second of all, those things that you mentioned are questionable things in the justice system. No question. I'm not challenging that, but they're not as questionable things that are being done to other people as much as it's, Kennedy got away Ted Kennedy got away with Chappaquiddick, whatever. No question about it. But what's happening now is that people are being snatched off the streets and deported, and they say, whoops, we made a mistake. Sorry. I'm just saying that
they've been doing it a long time, Alan.
We shouldn't shut up.
They've been doing it a long time. Eisenhower deported thousands of Mexicans back in the fucking 50s. We interred the Japanese. World War II. Listen, we have done segregation lasted for 200 years after so-called Emancipation Proclamation. We done had the Supreme Court say separate but equal and all this other shit where they ruled in favor of bigots and whatever. But we have survived this shit. But the bottom line is that if you got a opposition party, and I know what you're saying, Eric and Vanessa, Jim, and it's like we got to if we're gonna oppose somebody like Donald Trump, we got to have some loyal opposition. At this point, we don't have any loyal opposition. Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi and them.
Yeah, they need to go.
They need to just retire and give it to somebody that's gonna fight the good fight, and because they're not fighting the.
Nancy Pelosi stepped aside. She's not a leader.
Yeah, but she need to step. She need to get out of office.
Absolutely, absolutely.
She needs to get out of office.
Listen, I want to say this to you, Allan. I did not say that you should be quiet. I said I have a different opinion. And what I'm saying is, listen, I didn't vote for President Trump. I did not. Okay. It could have been a clown, and I would have voted for that person before I would vote for Donald Trump. But the fact of the matter is, he is the president of the United States. And I've always said that. Excuse me.
And I'm not gonna go to bed at night letting Donald Trump get in my head, or none of these motherfuckers get in my head. It's how you deal with what's going on in this fucking country. Here we have a state, the state of Michigan. You know, what we got going in Detroit. What we got going in Michigan, you know, who runs it? The Democrats. It's Whitmer. Whitmer says she's gonna fix all the roads and everybody else. And now we got all these elections coming up, and people saying they're gonna do this, gonna do that. We can't do nothing because we can't get shit from the president. Does it matter who's the president and who's the governor and shit? You know,
but my question, go ahead,
Allan. So, do we need somebody that's just going to be an ass kisser for the administration, or are we going to have somebody that's an independent and say, you know what, regardless of who in office in D.C., this is the agenda for the state?
You always say it's good to have. I mean, the idea of having three branches of the government, the idea of having multiple parties, is to have checks and balances that people need to be challenged. If a Republican or a Democrat's in office, it's good. It's healthy for the system to challenge. But when you start taking the rails off, which is what's happening in some ways, it makes it a little more difficult. But
Allan, my question to you and so many others: Donald Trump do since 2015. What did you all do to prevent him? What coalitions and caucuses did you all develop amongst each other to prevent him from winning again in 2024? There was so much silence. And then even with Project 2025 in January of 2024. So people complaining about it, there's enough time to coalesce, form coalitions to prevent him from being president. But now that he has become president, I think many of you do is complain about it. I'm like Adolph, I don't go to sleep worrying about him being president. It is what it is.
Well, I care about people's rights.
Listen,
I care about people's rights. I care when people are snatched off the street because they're anti-Israel or whatever it is. And there's no evidence of them committing any crimes. I may not agree with them.
You care about so many people's rights. You just put my point. You care about so many people's rights. What did you do to prevent him from becoming president?
As a journalist,
I think Allan, as a journalist, has been out in the forefront, and I have to give Allan credit. He's been in the forefront. He's fighting a good fight. But what the bottom line is. The bottom line is that you have folks in each community that says, I don't care if they snatch some of these people off because they don't agree with my agenda. You know, when you got a group of folks like the Arab community say, we with Donald Trump, and then Donald Trump send ICE in to take half of them out of here. Well, you know, the average person in the Black community said, well, I can't worry about that. I'm only worrying about what we got going in our community. Vanessa.
So, listen, I said it before when Donald Trump was elected president, and I'll say it today. Listen, I don't lose a minute of sleep. But the reality is, I, as Vanessa, don't lose a minute of sleep. There are a lot of people who watch Detroit in black and white that do lose sleep, because that has lost sleep, because he is the president of the United States. They are worried about, they may not be worried about people being snatched off
They're
the
worried
street.
about Social Security. They worried about Medicaid, Medicare.
I don't think
They're worried about pensions.
Right.
They're worried about all the shit.
Exactly. And so I don't think you can be dismissive, or you should be dismissive, because there are people who have lost sleep. For me, no. For you, Eric, no. For you, Adolph, no. But there are people who have and who do lose sleep over this.
Jim, go
to your point,
let Jim
ask. Less people voted in 2024.
Eric, he said Jim.
I was going to say thanks, Deborah and Deborah, Miss Sheila and Dave, for all your comments right now. You're keeping it lively here, and I appreciate Allan's caring and interest in the rights of our U.S. citizens. But what about the rights of the victims, Allan? What about the people? What about the criminals that are overtaking some of our streets? And you can say that's not being done, but there's, whether it's anecdotal or not, there's evidence that's, go ahead, that some of these people were killed by illegal immigrants. There's evidence that you can believe it or not, it depends on what TV show you watch. But I think the guys with the MS-13 tattoos are MS-13 members, no matter what CNN or whoever says. They don't belong here. They walk across the border illegally. They belong back. Their due process, they can sit in a courtroom in Venezuela and go in there and sue to come back to the United States. Let's talk about the victims sometimes. So we only talk about the rights of the criminals. The liberals love the rights of the criminals. They don't care about the victims.
That's not true. That's such a bullshit argument. I care about.
It's accurate.
Look, I care about the victims, but when some of those people down in El Salvador have tattoos that have nothing to do with MS-13, they say they're MS-13 tattoos when they're not, and that's where they're being deported. That's a problem when we're snatching. This is America. There is some due process. We don't want criminals here. We don't want gang members here from other countries. I do care about that, but I also care about when one day they're going to start snatching up your family because they don't like that you live in Trenton.
Now, that's just your hyperbole. That's the Democratic problem. Why people voted for the Republicans.
Absolutely, but let me say
thank you, Terry. I agree. I understand.
Let me say this: why are we sitting here acting like, Allan, like this is the only president that has taken people that were here illegally and sent them back? This is nothing new.
There's a due process.
Barack Obama.
It's a problem.
It's called due process.
Listen, I believe in a process, but listen, if you're committing crimes and you should not be here, then you need to go back where you belong.
Well, Vanessa, you're a defense attorney. You're a defense attorney.
It has to be a process.
You're a defense attorney. Are you okay with
I'm okay.
Eric has the floor.
I'm okay as long as there's a process. I don't know how many times I have to say that. I've said it before.
Okay.
You said it, and when we heard it. Eric, you had the floor.
I was going to say, and I can't remember who said it. I don't know if it was Vanessa or Adolph. My next point was to exactly what Derek Henry just wrote. Obama deported a lot of people. I mean, illegally as well. And I think we spend too much time focusing on the present as opposed, the recency as opposed to looking in the past. And that's one of the things that I tell people all the time. When people challenge me on something, I'm able to produce based on having knowledge and doing research. Most people just talk out of their ass and talk about what they've heard. If you have the research to back it up, if you have the research to back it up, then you good. But if you're just talking hyperbole, that diminishes your argument. And Jim made a good point. Some of these people, the one guy they sent back to El Salvador, it has since come out that he did have ties to M13.
Well,
people want to use him as a poster child.
These people got ties to all kind of shit. And listen, motherfuckers come over here and do all kind of shit. Look, Bill Clinton sat on his ass while 1 million people in Rwanda died of genocide. Didn't do shit. Didn't do nothing. But he sent troops to Bosnia He sure sent U.S. troops to Bosnia. We done had presidents that done some crazy shit, and they got a pass. They got a fucking
same
pass.
with the Haitian refugees were sent back.
Listen, the Haitians, they come over here, they get their ass kicked, get right back over here. The Cubans can come over here as long as they hit the soil. You in. So we done had presidents, and the government have treated people differently. It's just who controls the government. I'm gonna tell you, we can talk about this shit all day, all night. All I just put out there, what did Cory Booker do? It was the 25 hours. I'm sure at the end of the day, Cory Booker didn't do squat. Allan, and then we're gonna go with the final thought. Go ahead, Allan.
I just want to give another example. In 2017, the Chaldean community, a lot voted for Trump because he was anti-Muslim. They were anti-ISIS. They thought he was going to take care of everything. And suddenly he started rounding up like hundreds and hundreds of Chaldeans, some who had like maybe 30 years ago an assault charge or whatever. And then they were going, oh my God, we've been betrayed. People don't care until it impacts them, and then they get it.
They got it. Well, you took a rattlesnake, he was and you nursed him back to health, and the motherfucker bit you. So why are you upset? That's just the way it is. Well, let's go. Jim, I'm gonna let you go. What's your final thought?
Who are you asking, Adolph?
Yeah, Jim.
Who are you asking me? Thanks, Terry, for your comments. There are some criminal cops out there, and I will not dispute that. But I want to give Cory Booker a little credit. Senator Booker, I shouldn't call him Cory, I should call him Senator Booker, because he did something. So they made a comment about the Democrats and how can you be a law enforcement. So the Democrats have let down law enforcement in the last few years, but this is not the Democratic Party of OSHA and workers' rights. And when Allan talks about the crazy Republicans, it's worse on the Democratic side. If you're looking at it from an independent spectrum, all right? If you're looking at the transgender and the border and all these things, that's one of the reasons, whether you agree or not, why the Democrats lost. And it wasn't Kamala Harris or Joe Biden, it was the Democrats that lost, right?
Okay.
That's my position. So I give Senator Booker credit for doing something.
Okay, Eric.
My final thought is, someone asked a question, what has the Republican Party done since 1980? And I'm going to give credit where credit is due, because a lot of people benefited from the First Step Act that was passed by Donald Trump in December 2018. And I think he deserves credit for that. A lot of people got out, and you had numerous people that were behind bars that should not have been there due to the bullshit war on drugs in America, started by Republican, true, but enforced by Democrats as well. But that First Step Act is something that was long overdue, necessary, and people got out of jail because of it.
Okay, Allan Lengel.
I'm going to take it a step further. Well, Joe Biden was the one who did a mass pardon of people with marijuana convictions. And just real quickly to address Jim, when you talk about we don't care about the victims at all. We care that, look, and Vanessa knows this, you could have whatever it is. Oh, well, I'm going to say, being in the court system, you have 20 to 30 people charged with the crime, and maybe 2 are innocent. And we have a system, a process, so that those 2 people don't spend time behind bars. And we've seen people wrongfully convicted because they didn't get fair representation. The prosecutor or the cops did something crooked, whatever. But it's important that we try to maintain a justice system here. This country is nothing without laws.
Okay. Vanessa.
Listen, I want to give the panel of Detroit in Black and White A round of applause. A whole hour of talking. For a whole hour of talking with no commercials. Listen, join us Friday evening at 8:30 p.m. Detroit in black and white. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for participating. We'll see you Friday.
Well, it ain't the end. I got my glasses.
Yes, it is.
Trying to shortcut you.
Yes, it is.
That's why you part of the problem. Thank you. And we'll.
You know you the problem.
Yeah, we know what's happening.
You know you the problem.
You can't get the truth. What did Jack Nicholson say? You wouldn't know the truth.
You wouldn't know the truth.
We'll be back on Friday, 8:30.